Hi there, Smart Driver, talking to you today about traffic signs. In terms of defensive driving, this is one of your bigger defensive driving tools. If you actually read traffic signs, they will help you out on the roadway. So know what your traffic signs are. Becoming a safer, smarter driver, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. So reading traffic signs, this is important for passenger vehicle drivers. It's much more important if you graduate to a larger vehicle. In the summertime, you're pulling a trailer or camper van, you're wanting to get a bus license or get a truck license. Reading traffic signs is important. Classifications of traffic signs. If you know the classifications, this sign here in the image is a cautionary sign telling you that the maximum speed around the corners is 50 miles an hour, which is pretty slow because that's only 25 kilometers an hour. And it's a really windy, twisty road. I suspect it's a picture from Utah. All right, videos to have a look at. Why get a dash cam? You know, I used to be kind of on the fence a few years ago where I would say, you know, remember, a dash cam is a double-edged sword. However, the more and more investigation I do with traffic crashes, video is just really awesome. Dash cams, like I'm working on a crash right now that happened in 2014. There's no videos, there's no telematics. It's just depositions from the people that were involved in the crash. And it is difficult. Very difficult to piece this thing back together, especially after 12 years. So get a dash cam. They're inexpensive. They're 60 bucks. You stick them on the front windshield of your vehicle and they just run all the time. They'll just overwrite the old video footage in your car, and you can pick one up. They're inexpensive. They're about 60 bucks, and they will definitely help you out if something happens, for sure. But you know, sometimes they can work against you as well, but for the most part they work out well. Master shoulder checking. If you're going to take a driver's test and an on-road test, shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. If you do not shoulder check, you will not pass your driver's test. So have a look at that video and understand that technique for the purposes of not only passing your driver's test, but also becoming a safer, smarter driver. The first defensive driving skill that drivers lose after getting a driver's license is shoulder checking. And it's not only until something goes wrong that they re-implement that skill when they're driving. The ways that traffic signs convey information: the shape of the sign, diamond, hexagon, inverted triangle. My favorite is the first way. The colors: orange background with black markings and lettering are construction signs. Yellow backgrounds with black markings and symbols are cautionary signs. Yield signs, those types of things, all the different kinds of classifications of signs. So these are the ways that you can quickly glean or get the information off the traffic signs when you're driving. Road sign classes: regulatory signs, school signs, cautionary signs, lane control signs, and object marker signs. And I know that object marker signs are cautionary signs, warning signs, but I put them in a class unto themselves because they are so important, especially if you're moving up to a bigger vehicle, a large suburban SUV, pulling a boat trailer, pulling a utility trailer, whatever, or driving a semi-truck or driving a bus. You need to look out for these objects. Hazard obstruction signs. All right, they're rectangular. They're the most numerous on our roadways. If you look for any traffic sign and you were to say which one is the biggest, which one is the most number of signs on our roadway, it would be hazard obstructions, object marker signs. They have two names. Of course, most things in driving have two names, just to confuse you, okay? It tells you to pass right, pass left or right. You'll see these on traffic islands where they tell you to pass either left or right. And the way to know which way to pass is that you think of a kettle of water being poured on the hash marks. Whichever way the water pours off is the way that you pass the hazard obstruction sign. Okay, regulatory signs, stop signs, speed signs, railway crossing signs are regulatory signs in the United States, but not in Canada. Okay, brake check signs, these are for big trucks, semi-trucks and whatnot. You must stop at the brake check area and do note it in your electronic log or your paper log, whichever one you're keeping. Okay, cautionary signs, these are warning signs and give you information along the roadway. And again, all traffic signs will allow you to understand traffic patterns and better interpret the actions of individual road users along the roadway. For example, if you take note of the fact that you're approaching a crosswalk and then, so you say, okay, there's a crosswalk up there, there's a possibility that pedestrians could be crossing the roadway, and then you're scanning mapping, tracking road users, and you see a pedestrian walking towards the crosswalk and reaching out to push the button, you know there's a high probability that that pedestrian is going to cross the roadway, and you can respond accordingly. And of course, you're managing space, your 2 to 3 second following distance, and mapping and tracking the driving environment in which you're in. Space buys you time, time buys you options, options prevent crashes. Map and track and shoulder checking will lead into always be scanning when you're driving, okay? So warning signs, some of them are relevant, some not so much. If you're driving a larger vehicle and you're pulling a caravan, for example, you have to know how high it is. So if it's 10 feet 6 inches and you go under 11 foot 8, well, now you've turned the trailer into a convertible. You need to know the height of your vehicle as well. As a passenger vehicle, not a big deal. Unless you're putting stuff on the roof, like bicycles and those types of things, and you're driving through a park and deciding that you're going to drive under the soccer net, then you're going to pull the bicycles off the top of your car, or you're going into your garage and forget that the bicycles are on the top of your car. Those types of things, okay? Larger vehicles, destination signs, overhead signs, construction signs, these all become really, really important when you start driving larger vehicles, buses and semi-trucks, and you're driving pickup trucks, you're working on the farm, you're working at a construction site, those types of things in the summertime and whatnot. These can be really important and will become a big tool in your defensive driving toolbox, okay? Match the flow of traffic. If you have your driver's license, after you get your driver's license, I do encourage you with traffic flow on the roadway. You are predictable, but never ever give up the 3 to 4 second following distance in front of your vehicle. Above the lane that you're driving in, same with freeway signs. The reason that signs are overhead or above the lane that you're in is that it allows us to look straight down as opposed to looking off on the side of the roadway. And at higher speeds, it's easier to look up and see those signs straight in front of us. These work in concert with lane marking signs, places like Minnesota and Wisconsin and other places that actually get snow. The lane markings become worn off, especially in the spring, so you need to be looking at the signs and you need to figure out which lane that you need to be in. And again, we come back to pulling a trailer for those of you upgrading to those. If you're turning right, you need to be in the outside lane. If there are 2 lanes turning right, in fact, and if you're turning left, same thing. You need to be in the outside lane. So if you're turning left, you want to be in the right-hand lane to make that left turn, because usually what happens on the other side of the intersection when you get over into the other lane is there's a utility pole right on the end and you're going to get jammed up against that. So always outside lane when you're turning, especially on a road test and for larger vehicles. Mile marker signs, these are a valuable defensive driving tool because you can be prepared and respond accordingly when you're driving. And the best defensive driving story I have about this was years ago with a student in a big truck, and we were in Kamloops and we were looking for an exit to get off at Smythe Street, and the driver's going up the hill in Kamloops, and there's another truck, and he wants to know whether he can get around and pass the other truck before he gets to his exit. And I said to him, what exit are you getting off? And he said 375. And I said, well, what exit are you at? And he didn't really know. And then I pointed out where the exit numbers was, and he said, oh, I'm at exit 370. I said, okay, so you got 5 kilometers, which is about 3 miles up the road before you have to get off at your exit. I said, do you have time to pass this truck? He said, yeah, I do now. Of course, he knew that. So this is an example of mile marker signs. And most interstates in the exit numbers and the mile markers are one and the same. Okay, New York State is not like that. Okay, the exit numbers and the mile marker numbers do not line up. But everywhere else, the mile markers and the exit numbers are one and the same. And for example, the state of Ohio, I still remember this. In Toledo, it starts at 0 mile marker. In the north and in the south, it goes to exit 213. So it's 213 miles across Ohio. And when you're stuck at 55 miles an hour, 90 kilometers an hour in a big truck, and you're driving for 4 hours, that's a really, really long time. There's a, driving 90 kilometers an hour, 55 mile an hour in a big truck, this seems really slow. And I know that 10 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour doesn't seem like that much, but it's a huge difference in a big truck, especially if you're running all day, 8 hours a day, and you can get another 10 miles an hour out of it. Much better. Okay, good luck on your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer. Not necessarily the right answer. Kevin, hey Rick, I'm currently doing a 5-hour pre-licensing course and your videos are in it, man. That's awesome. Kevin, where are you doing your pre-licensing, my friend? Epic, my friend, pay attention to the road sign shapes and colors in North America. You will encounter 2 types of school signs, black on neon green, and then the other type, black on yellow school zones. And yes, as Epic just said and reminded me, school signs are not standardized in any sense of the imagination, which could make it a bit challenging. As I said, we've got a school around here where they've got some diamond-shaped school signs. One of the consistent features about school signs, however, is 2 people on school signs. And the way that I always remember that is when 2 vowels go walking, one does the talking. And, you know, I always think of school and things I was learning when I was in grade school and doing, you know, learning alphabets and vowels and all those types of things. So that's the way that I remember 2 people. 1 person on a warning sign is a park sign, okay? So it's warning you of a park in the area and those types of things. And of course, I used to make jokes in defensive driving courses about kids running out in front of your vehicle and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I said all parks, or most of them, are all fenced in now. So it's unlikely that kids are going to run out on the roadway chasing balls. And somebody in a defensive driving course said to me one day, well, I've had it happen to me 3 times where kids have run out in front of me. And all kinds of inappropriate jokes came into my head about what this guy was doing to have young children running out in front of his car all the time, because I can't say that I had it happen, but, you know, my son, on the other hand, was notorious for kicking his soccer ball out into the roadway and having to go after it and chase it and those types of things. So there you go. Road signs, that's what we're talking about today. As I said at the beginning of the live stream, biggest defensive driving tool that you have in your driving toolkit, okay? Use it, read the traffic signs. Most people, I can tell you from personal experience, not from personal experience, from professional experience of teaching people how to upgrade their license to a tractor trailer or a school bus, that people do not read traffic signs. They simply follow what other traffic on the roadway is doing. But if they get into trouble, then they'll look at the traffic signs. But be proactive. Read the traffic signs. Pay attention to what's going on. Because as I said, these will help you to interpret traffic patterns and understand the actions of individual road users and allow you to respond appropriately to what's going on in the traffic environment. And traffic signs will not trick you, okay? They're there to give you the information about what's going on the roadway. In addition to that, with summertime, some of the other things that you should pay attention to are out-of-state plates, for example, because they may be lost, okay? They don't know where they're going. They're driving around and they're looking for stuff. Same thing with drivers pulling caravans and people pulling houseboats and those types of things. Boats to the lake and whatnot. Most of the time, people pulling boats know where they're going. But caravans, they're out, they're going around and those types of things. All right? Traffic signs. The other thing to have a look at is looking for recreational tourist stops along the roadway, okay? If you're going through the Trans-Canada Highway and you're driving through British Columbia in the mountains, there are sites of interest along the roadway and people will be getting off and there's traffic stopped and those types of things. Same thing with cautionary signs with big trucks on them, big trucks turning. If you see that sign and you're driving along the highway, you're going to go, okay, there's big trucks turning, warning sign up here at the next intersection. I know that potentially there could be a big truck up there and it's turning and it's going to go really, really slow. Therefore, you need to slow down and be prepared and respond accordingly to that big truck getting out on the roadway. And also in other places, parts of Louisiana and the United States, if you're on a reserve, an Indian reserve, is that the right term? Is that the PC term? I don't want to offend people. They're going to be in a different language. If I go to Quebec, all of the stop signs say arrête. They don't say stop. They say arrête. However, you know it's a stop sign because of its shape and its colors. Even though it's in a different language, it's still a stop sign. Know that for the purposes of your driver's test. All right. Okay, that's everything with stop signs. Good luck in your driver's test. Dougie. You want to see the Dougie? Come on. Your fans want to see you. There's the Doug. There's the Doug. There's that Doug. Doesn't he look so interested? He's like, Dad, leave me alone. I was having such a good sleep. What's the matter? Are you saying hi to all your fans? Hello, my fans. Hello. Hi. He's like the Smart Drive Test Company mascot. Yeah. He's like, what are you doing? You woke me up from my 22-hour nap. Okay? Say hi to everybody. You're just like, Dad, can I go? Are you going to put me down now? He's not a cuddly dog. He's just like, are we done? Can we go? And we have cuddle time. He's cuddle. He's like, can I go now? Can I go? All right, everybody. Thank you so much. All the best. And remember, pick the best answer. Not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. All the best. Bye now.